With only 2 weeks to go before we need to pay for our replacement brand new Leopard 45 catamaran, we face the reality that 8 months after the fire, the insurance still hasn't paid us out. We also share some more details about the fire. There is so much going on with the preparations for selling our French boat and preparing also for the arrival of our brand new Leopard 45. Hi folks, thanks for joining us for a cup of tea as we're sitting on Lady Gourmand and we're discussing all sorts of things of interest. So join us for a cup of tea. If you're not into a cup of tea, then crack the head off a beer.
Okay, so we're just back from Morocco, having bought all the soft gear.
Yeah.
But now we have to get ready for the boat show in 12 days' time where we see the Leopard 45 for the first time.
Pretty exciting.
Okay, but at the same time we are here in Lady Gourmand, which is a riverboat or a canal boat, and we're in the process of getting it ready for sale. So we have to make a list of all the things we have to do for this boat, all the things we have to do for Leopard 45.
And we thought you might like to join us. So just to see what it's like in the day of planning for the next adventure and the things we have to do before the next adventure.
Okay, so all the jobs we have to do for Lady Gourmand, honey. We have to put it in the hands of an agent. I have been speaking to them, so we haven't finalised that yet.
No.
The guy was going to come around to have a look at it and give us a valuation, essentially. But I'm also going to advertise it online, so independently, to give it more chance of selling. We have a few little jobs inside the boat that we have to do. Some of the varnish has just aged a little bit where it's been exposed to sun or externally, so I've got to do all of that. What else have we got to do? Good luck.
We've got to do a few sort of engine-y things.
Engine-y things. So the boat's been winterized, so that has to be reversed when the boat's ready to launch. I'm not going to do that until we actually have a buyer and he wants to put it in the water. But there is one or two mechanical things that will have to be repaired. When I spin the propeller on the boat, it sounds very rough, and it might just be that the stern gland needs to be greased. There have been some fishing line tangled in the prop shafts, but also the external steering wheel seems to have lost connection, so that needs to be fixed. And we also need to check the hot water tank. The electric hot water tank seems to be not working very well, so I need to see if that is dead and needs to be replaced or if it's just an electrical fault.
But on the upside, the boat's been completely painted, new paint on the outside.
And that was finished before we went to Morocco, and it looks absolutely spectacular.
It's good, and the name Lady Gourmand is all redone again.
To get the mechanical work done, we have a friend that worked on the boat a few years ago, but we just having a bit of difficulty finding him because his number was on a phone that went into the canal. Occupational hazard.
And we were getting random phone calls from fish for a long time.
And we could see them floating past the front of the phone.
It was actually, the way that it happened was, it was really quite funny when Avion,
hilarious.
And we stepped from the dock.
We know, it was me, was me.
And there was a gap, like seriously, of about this much.
The phone was in my top pocket and I stepped over the stanchion, so I stepped forward like that, and as Elizabeth says, the gap between the boat and the shore was only 3 inches, 4 inches, very narrow. And the phone managed to find the exact
nice dive straight. And it was like in slow motion, and, no.
And I must say, I at the time that I thought, should I jump in after it, like over the back of the boat and swim around, because I'd know exactly where it'd be. But the current there was so fast. I was thinking it was too dangerous, and it was dusk.
I think it's a sign that he needed to get a new phone anyway.
We need to put in a new starter battery. Oh, and your cleaning of the carpets and the upholstery. Yeah.
So each time we've left the boat, it's got carpet and it's also got upholstery, and I've just got to track down this really great cleaner that really brings it up so well. It's sprayed on like a mousse and then you vacuum it up, so.
Oh, like we were doing on Mini Dash.
Yeah. Like
do that all over again.
I know.
It was such a lot of fun. That's about it for this boat, is it?
There's not that much to do.
Okay, let's move on to what we have to do for the 45.
Dun, 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 dun.
The boat show is in 12 days' time.
So we're going to the boat
Land
show, and that's when we'll see our 45 for the first time. Mind you, everybody else will see it then too, because there's probably thousands of people that'll trudge through having a look and touching and things like that. But then after the boat show, they'll sail it back to St. Raphael, clean it all up, and prepare it for the handover for us. So that'll happen first week in May.
Okay, so we need to sort out insurance, and we have quotes from 2 companies at the moment, and so that's good because at least we have quotes, and I have to fill in some forms. Of course, they say, you know, print off this PDF. So one of the things we need to buy is a printer. We had a printer on Ultradash. It's amazing how important it is to have a printer on a sailing boat when you live aboard, because there's always things you have to print and fill in forms. And
talk about the hard drive. We're talking about the printer and electrical things.
Electronics. So, because we do a lot of videos, we need to store the footage. We don't want to lose it, and of course, you don't want to store it on the computer because the computer might fail. So we have an external hard drive. The computer doesn't have enough storage capacity anyway, so you cannot store all video footage on the computer anyway. So we have external hard drives which are 5 terabytes. We have 5 of these 5 terabyte hard drives, because each one gets filled in quickly, 6 months to 12 months. If a hard drive fails, you lose all the data on that hard drive, so you need to have backup of your hard drive. So on Ultradash we had a dedicated hard drive. Itself can have mirror images of all your data, and we had 40 terabyte of storage on that hard drive. So really what we need to do is get one of those hard drives again.
If the boat goes down or something happens to the boat that gets wet or that gets destroyed, then that's all your precious videos, which would be tragic.
And the biggest challenge with having a distant hard drive, either in the cloud or at home, is you've actually got to send all your data over the internet, and sending data over the internet when you're talking about terabytes starts to get really expensive and difficult.
But all YouTubers have that sort of challenge.
With the Google plan we have in the USA, it was 20 gigs per month, but that's now been cancelled because we're not majority of the time in the USA. So that's really irritating. Google Fi hasn't worked for us.
How rude.
I know. If anybody has any solutions for us, please let us know. So what else do we need for the 45?
Okay, so like we talked about before, we're buying a boat that's bare. There's nothing in it. So imagine buying a new house and you have to fit it out. So there's all the linen, sheets and towels and pillows, and there's crockery and there's cutlery and there's all of the kitchen stuff you would need for a house. That's what you need for the boat. So there's pots and pans. There's even fruit bowls and serving bowls and salad bowls and platters. And
we couldn't fit the platter in from Morocco.
For all of you that were hoping that we'd get one of those really nice platters and fit in, and we both really loved them because they were kind of in the symbolic shape of the Hannah hand, and then you removed all the bits and pieces. We just couldn't fit it in even if we wanted to. And
the stuff that we did have was so much that the bag we bought specifically broke on the way home.
And it had a 5-year guarantee.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sure. Of course, we need to also buy wine glasses. So talk about wine glasses.
We do. Okay, so we don't mind a glass of wine, and we don't really want to be drinking out of something that's just like a cup.
Nice. We're going to buy some hopefully nice, high quality, non-breakable wine glasses.
And we have had, chalices that are made out of like pewter or silver or something like that. They're a little bit heavier. I mean, I love them, but they're just that little bit heavier.
Okay, so we'll have to buy some fishing gear, even though the fishing in the Med isn't particularly good.
We can still throw a line out the back.
Yeah.
Electrical gear, definitely need a hairdryer, not for styling, but more to dry your hair quickly because you're forever wet when you're jumping off the back of the boat and things like that. And when it does get cold, you really need to dry your hair. A wax pot.
We had a wax pot on Ultradash. Obvious places where you use the wax pot for,
that's
but
right.
We won't go into that.
No, we won't go into that.
Eyebrows.
Lips, chin. No, I don't need that. A wax pot is really good to have on a boat. Just a little dinky one. Also, talking about electrical equipment in the kitchen, you've got to limit that as well. So a lot of people are really into a lot of different gadgets, you know, food processors, blenders, you know, bread makers, all that kind of stuff, crate maker but again, you don't have the storage in a boat, and the more you put on it, the more it weighs it down. So you kind of got to get something that's, again, multifunctional, or just manage without it. I do a lot of baking and cooking.
So we're going to try and buy a single device that has multiple functions and doesn't take up a lot of space. So that's what we're going to go searching for.
Yes.
Obviously, for safety gear, we have to buy extras on the boat. The boat comes with flares and life jackets, but they're the foam ones, and certainly it's relatively uncomfortable wearing those foam ones all the time if you're going to be using them like continuously in rough weather. So we're going to buy the auto-inflating life jackets,
which is what we had on Ultradad,
as well as lifelines and harnesses. We are going to have to buy an EPIRB, and you can get these grab bag, but it's a plastic bucket with a screw top, so it's completely waterproof. Put all your safety gear into that,
like flares and all that sort of thing.
GPS, VHF radio, handheld VHF waterproof radio, which is something else we have to buy. Oh, we also had a satellite phone that was in the bucket for crossing oceans, but we're going to be in the Med. We're not going to need that in the Med. And seal bag. We do have seal bags already. So yeah, having a seal bag on a boat is really important. So when you're traveling backwards and forwards on the dinghy, you can put everything into your seal bag, close it, and it's waterproof. Even if it goes in the water, it's not a problem. And they're not expensive. You can buy them on Amazon. They're UHF radios that you can talk to people on the boat. And when we were sailing the 50-foot Leopard, it was really handy, me being able to speak directly to Elizabeth and vice versa, when we're on the opposite ends of the boat, like working the anchor and somebody's at the helm. So that was really handy. I'm not sure if we're going to need it on the 45. I think what we'll do is we'll just sail the 45 and see.
See how it goes, yeah.
Tools, obviously we've got to buy all the tools again new. And one thing here that I just like to mention to everybody is that buying cheap tools is probably not advisable, because the cheap tools really rust very quickly, and this is a really tough environment. There's a lot of humidity, there's a lot of salt, so it's really frustrating when you have tools and the plier seize up and you can't even move them. You can obviously cover them in grease and try to protect them as much as possible, but you're much better off to buy good quality first up. And things like Allen keys, if you buy cheap Allen keys, I've had experience with cheap Allen keys trying to remove folding props in isolated places because they were broken or had to be taken apart. You just couldn't get them apart because the Allen keys were such poor quality. The Allen keys stripped, and then there was damage to the screw inside the device, and then it was completely jammed. Buy good quality stainless so then they don't rust. Look after them, spray them with silicone or WD-40 to keep them protected in the damp environment while you're storing them, and they'll last a long time. So the other thing is pressure cleaner.
Yeah.
We're going to buy a pressure cleaner for the boat.
Yeah.
In Australia we call them gurneys, but I don't think anywhere else in the world calls them that. But
Sounds like an Australian term.
It's basically it has water coming out at high pressure, and you just spray it and it basically blasts the boat. That's what they do. That's what they use for cleaning the underneath of the hulls when you take your boat out. So everybody will know what that is.
Obviously you can clean the boat with the saltwater spray on the boat. You want to do a
final
really
clean.
Good clean with
that
the
gets
fresh
all
water.
And it uses very little water. It's much more economical on the water as well, because it's coming out at high pressure but low volume. Dive gear, snorkeling gear, flippers.
Although we're not in the Bahamas and we won't be doing the same sort of diving, you've still got to have, fins, snorkel, goggles, and wetsuits. So.
And again, we're going to buy. We had good quality ones before. We're going to have to get good quality ones again.
The silicone,
with the intention of going on for many years with them wherever we are. So
if you look after your gear, like after you've come out from a swim from the salt water, you can rinse them in fresh water and dry them and put them away to store, rather than, them sit there in the heat, degrading, and the rubbers all perish and everything happens. So if you get good stuff, you can look after it. Other thing I was really looking for is an elasticated back strap, because when you have a rubber one, it breaks your hair when you're putting them on and off when your hair's wet. So that's really important. Well, the advantage of that is fun to start with, but also fitness. Another thing is the likes of if the dinghy's already inshore, you're on the boat but you want to get to dinghy and they haven't answered their radio, then you're not stranded. You can jump on the sup or you can jump on the paddleboard and get yourself off the boat. It's another multi-purpose thing that we talk about.
Yeah. Let's talk about something slightly lateral then.
Okay.
Disaster scenarios. So you run over a reef, you have multiple holes on the bottom of your boat and your boat sinks. Obviously the 42-foot boat that I built had airtight voids absolutely everywhere. So if we were holed multiple times, there'd still be airtight voids in the underwing, in the hull, in the stern, in the bow, below beds, in all the cabins, etc., etc. So that gave me a lot of confidence. Production boats don't have that. They kind of bypass the whole thing about airtight voids and talk about their watertight bulkheads. Watertight bulkheads only stop water going from one area to the other, but if you have holes in both areas, they just fill up with water and your boat goes down. And obviously sailing Dauntless, a good example, Leopard 50, catamarans do sink. Catamarans very seldom capsize these days, but if you capsize and you go upside down, the boat doesn't sink because the air's trapped in an intact hull. But if you go over a reef or if you go into a submerged container and you go over the top of it and it gives you multiple holes, a bit like the Titanic.
Or attacked by orcas, which has happened.
Orcas, and the boat will sink because there's no airtight void. So what I'm considering is getting some of the inflatable salvage bags that are used to float boats off that are already sinking and putting them in the hulls, inflating them with the air, and then if we do get flooded for whatever reason, then the boat, those salvage bags, that air will be trapped in the hull and be still floating your boat. Also, if we're in an anchorage where there's another boat in distress or on the reef or sinking, we can deflate them and take them, fill them up for the other boat with scuba tanks. So that's really what I'm considering here, and use them as backup.
I like the idea of having something more substantial on board that we can help somebody else if they're needing it.
Just to let everybody know, we did apply for a 12-month long stay visa in France. We did get the visa over in the USA, so we got that approved. We came to the USA, we had to register as soon as we got here, so we sent them off an email and registered. And it turns out we now also have to do a medical. So a medical has been arranged for us at a certain date.
I'm not really sure what they're testing us for or
what
they're looking for, but we have to follow protocol and have a follow-up medical.
And I must say, when I read the online stuff, it certainly seemed like it may or may not be done. It certainly sounded like they probably wouldn't do it. So that's in process, and that gives us a 12-month stay in France or the EU. We wouldn't have had enough time if it hadn't been for this 12-month visa to get all the stuff we needed done to get Lady Gourmand fixed up and ready for sail, and also fit out and take ownership of the Leopard 45. So in 12 days' time, it's the Grand Mott Boat Show, so that's also very exciting. We are going to be checking out all the other boats, and this is a catamaran show only, so we are going to try and get onto as many of the other boats as possible. What?
Trimaran.
So we are going to get onto as many of the other boats as possible.
You're not going to say try now, are you?
Including trimarans. So we've really got our work cut out for us. We've got to get moving here. I don't know what we're doing sitting here talking about it all.
We're telling you guys everything we've got to do, but we haven't.
La.
So we've got all the time in the world. Actually, it comes around so fast. You know, for the longest time, it seemed as though we had so long to wait. But now it's really kind of sneaking up on us, and we think, gosh, you know, what do we got to get? Because the reality of it is, we can't sail a boat away until we have the correct registration documents signed, sealed, and delivered back to us to say we're registered. So we can't even sail away. So that has to be a priority. So the other exciting thing that's going to happen, which we may have mentioned in the past, is that we have 2 guests coming on board.
2 crew.
2 crew. And it's going to be really cool because they're going to help us with the videoing and we're going to teach them to sail. And
their long-term desire is to go sailing as well. So we'll probably film all that teaching, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And then you guys can learn how to sail if that's what makes you excited.
Yeah, fun.
You said they were going to come on Ultra Dash, but it burnt. So despite the uncertainty, they agreed to wait, and now they're coming to join us this year in the Med.
Oh, and we should have more music on the boat because she can sing.
That's right.
So that'll be really fun. Okay, guys, so where are we with the insurance?
We are not really any further on than we were 6 months ago. The insurance hasn't paid out and we are still waiting. The Leopard 45 guys got their payout in about October. We got our payout approved by the assessor late October, early November, and we are still waiting. So this is a significant issue for us because obviously we really were expecting to have the money to buy the replacement 45.
As most of you would know, to get a replacement boat is same for same is near impossible. So the best thing we could go for was a 45 that was offered to us by Leopard to be in the Grand Mott Boat Show in May. So we thought, hey, that's enough time for the insurance to pay out, 6 or 7 months, and then we collect our new 45 Leopard then. But what's happened is
They haven't paid out, and they are making excuses about subrogation and all the other complicated things about all the different insurance companies that are involved, and in reality that shouldn't influence our payout at all. The practical problem we have here is we are now 2 or 3 weeks from having to pay for our boat and we have not had the payout. 6 months ago we didn't expect that to be a problem, but we did think about it and we did put in place some alternative plan Bs. And now we're having to activate those plan Bs, but it is highly irritating.
it's disappointing because when you insure your boat, you put all your trust into the insurance company, expecting that if something was untoward to happen, that they would look after you. So we're just hoping that the insurance companies are standing by their word and their integrity, and that they will indeed pay out. It puts us in a very compromised position where we now have to come up with the money for a new 45.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to be compromising our financial situation and then make sacrifices because they've taken more than 7 months to pay out an insurance claim that was approved many months ago. In the last 3 months, we have been pushing them harder and harder because this is now totally getting increasingly ridiculous. We do have lawyers involved who are pressing them too, but really that doesn't help us because they haven't paid us.
We trust that it's all going to be all paid out in the end in full, but we've just got to go through this process and manage this process now when we need to buy the 45.
The thing that we've emphasised to the insurance company is we're waiting on this money to move forward because that boat was our home. That boat had all of our belongings and all of our life, and how are we meant to proceed until they pay us out?
So if you could all cross your fingers and your toes for us, that would be much appreciated. You'll be the first to know when the insurance pays out, which we trust it will.
At this stage, the legal process is still underway.
So we're not at liberty to share that information.
But the reality is our insurance company is subrogating the costs to another insurance company. So I think that should speak volumes in as much as it's not a fault of Leopard, the boat itself. It wasn't our fault that the fire occurred. So I think that should reassure all Leopard owners that this wasn't an inherent fault of the boat, and you can all rest assured that your boats are not at risk of going up in that way. And I think that's the most important fact to take out of this.
That's the up-to-date news. Our episodes currently are fairly real-time.
Yeah.
So here we are, live on location.
In the south of France.
South of France. So happy Easter, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. That's it from us for another little chat. We really want to share this journey with you guys that have stuck with us from the moment that we've had we first put out the YouTubes, or there's people that have joined us when
The fire.
they found out about the fire. So there's been a lot of people that have supported us.
Yeah, thanks guys. It's been
And
wonderful.
we really appreciate it. And, when the messages come through and it's like, oh, I'm so excited when, there's only X amount of time to go. And, I really feel that we're all on this journey together, because that's how it feels to me.
It's been great, all the positive feedback and support we've received from all of our viewers. So thanks very much, guys. It's been absolutely great. So all the best, guys. Lovely having you along, and we can't wait, and I'm sure you'll have all that excitement with us over the next few weeks. So
Countdown is on.
See you guys.
Bye.
Love ya.
If you have liked this episode, hit the like button, subscribe for free, and ding the dong so you don't miss your fix of the next exciting episode. Love and health from the Barefoot Doctors.